The hip replacement in Mexico cost $8,000 instead of $80,000 in the US. What they didn't tell me was that the titanium implant was actually cheap steel that would poison my blood and nearly kill me. I'm Robert, and this is how medical tourism became my medical nightmare. I'm lying in an emergency room in San Diego, watching doctors pump my blood through a dialysis machine to filter out the metal toxins that are slowly killing me. The Mexican hip implant that was supposed to give me mobility has given me metal poisoning instead. The world-class surgery that saved me $72,000 has now cost me over $300,000 in emergency treatments, and I may never walk normally again. The toxicology report on the bedside table tells a story that's both horrifying and infuriating. The implant in my hip isn't medical-grade titanium as promised. It's industrial steel mixed with lead, cadmium, and other metals that have been leaching into my bloodstream for 8 months. I was poisoned by my own artificial hip. And the worst part is that thousands of other medical tourists are walking around with the same toxic time bombs in their bodies. But let me take you back to where this nightmare began, because every red flag was painted as a green light by people who made millions from my desperation. It started in February 2023 when my orthopedic surgeon in Phoenix delivered the devastating news. My left hip joint was completely deteriorated, and I needed immediate replacement surgery. The pain had become unbearable, and I could barely walk to my mailbox. The surgery will cost between $75,000 and $85,000, Dr. Martinez explained. Your insurance will cover about 60%, but you'll still be responsible for roughly $30,000 out of pocket. At 66 and living on a fixed retirement income, $30,000 might as well have been $300,000. I already used most of my savings dealing with my wife's cancer treatments before she passed away 2 years earlier. The choice seemed to be bankruptcy or permanent disability. That's when my neighbor Jim suggested medical tourism. I got my knee replacement in Tijuana for $8,000 total, he said, showing me how well he could walk. Same surgery, same results, fraction of the cost. The hospital was nicer than anything I've seen in the US. Jim gave me the contact information for Global Health Solutions, a medical tourism company that specialized in connecting American patients with international hospitals. Their website was impressive, filled with testimonials from satisfied patients and photos of modern medical facilities. I called their toll-free number and spoke with a friendly coordinator named Jennifer. Hip replacement is one of our most popular procedures, she explained. We work with JECI-accredited hospitals that meet international quality standards. The total cost, including surgery, hospital stay, and recovery, is $8,000. The savings were incredible. $72,000 less than the US price. Jennifer sent me a packet of information that included doctor credentials, hospital certifications, and patient testimonials. Everything looked legitimate and professional. Dr. Eduardo Ramirez is one of Mexico's top orthopedic surgeons, Jennifer explained. He trained at Johns Hopkins and has performed over 3,000 hip replacements. The Hospital International in Tijuana has the same equipment and standards as American hospitals. The credentials looked impressive. Dr. Ramirez had certificates from prestigious medical schools and professional organizations. The hospital was accredited by Joint Commission International, the same organization that certifies us hospitals. I scheduled a consultation visit to Tijuana to meet Dr. Ramirez and tour the hospital. The facility was indeed impressive. Modern equipment, clean facilities, and English-speaking staff. Dr. Ramirez spoke perfect English and explained the procedure in detail. We use the exact same titanium implants as American hospitals, he assured me. Many are manufactured in the same facilities that supply us medical centers. The only difference is the cost of labor and facility overhead. He showed me x-rays of successful hip replacements he'd performed, and the results looked identical to what I'd expect in the US. The hospital's operating rooms were equipped with advanced technology, and the recovery suites looked like luxury hotel rooms. I understand your concerns about quality, Dr. Ramirez said. That's why we offer a 5-year warranty on all our joint replacements. If you have any problems, we'll fix them at no charge. The warranty seemed to address my biggest worry. This felt like getting premium care at discount prices. I scheduled my surgery for March 15, 2023. Global Health Solutions arranged everything. Transportation from San Diego Airport, hotel accommodation, pre-surgery consultations, and post-operative care. The coordination was flawless and professional. The night before surgery, I stayed in a beautiful hotel near the hospital. Jennifer called to confirm all the arrangements and reassure me about the procedure. "You're making a smart choice," she said. "Thousands of Americans get medical care in Mexico every year. You'll save money and get excellent results." The morning of surgery, I was nervous but optimistic. The hospital staff was friendly and professional. Dr. Ramirez reviewed the procedure one final time and answered all my questions. "You'll be walking pain-free within 6 weeks," he promised. The surgery went smoothly according to everyone involved. I woke up in recovery feeling groggy but hopeful. The pain in my hip was gone, replaced by normal post-surgical discomfort. Dr. Ramirez visited during recovery and pronounced the operation a complete success. "Perfect placement. Excellent bone integration," he said, showing me the post-surgery x-rays. "This titanium implant will last you the rest of your life." I spent 3 days in the hospital's recovery suite, which was indeed as luxurious as advertised. The nursing staff spoke English, the food was good, and the pain management was effective. I felt like I'd gotten world-class care at a third-world price. The discharge process was smooth and professional. I received detailed care instructions, prescription medications, and contact information for follow-up support. Dr. Ramirez personally wished me well and reminded me about the 5-year warranty. "Call us if you have any concerns," he said. "We stand behind our work 100%. I returned to Phoenix feeling like I'd beaten the American healthcare system. My hip felt great. I could walk without pain. And I'd saved over $70,000. I recommended Global Health Solutions to several friends who were facing expensive medical procedures. The first 3 months of recovery went perfect. My hip healed quickly, my mobility improved dramatically, and I felt better than I had in years. The physical therapy went smoothly, and my American doctors were impressed with the surgical results. "Whoever did this surgery knew what they were doing," my physical therapist commented. "The placement looks perfect, and your recovery is ahead of schedule." But month 4 brought the first warning signs that something was wrong. I started experiencing unusual fatigue and what I thought were flu-like symptoms. My primary care doctor ran blood tests but found nothing obviously abnormal. "Sometimes the body takes longer to fully recover from major surgery," he explained. "Give it more time." Month 5 brought new symptoms that were harder to ignore. My thinking became foggy. I had persistent nausea, and I started losing weight despite eating normally. My American doctors were puzzled by the combination of symptoms. "These symptoms don't typically follow hip replacement surgery," my orthopedic surgeon admitted. "Let's run some more comprehensive tests." The expanded blood work revealed something alarming: elevated levels of chromium and cobalt, metals that shouldn't be present in significant quantities in human blood. My doctor immediately suspected a problem with my hip implant. "These metals can leach from certain types of artificial joints," he explained. "If the implant is defective or wearing abnormally, it can cause metal poisoning." We ordered specialized imaging of my hip joint. What the scans revealed was horrifying. The artificial hip was showing signs of premature wear and corrosion. Tiny metal particles were breaking off and entering my bloodstream. "This shouldn't happen with a quality titanium implant," my surgeon said. "Either the device is defective or it's not actually made of the materials it's supposed to be." I immediately contacted Global Health Solutions and Dr. Ramirez about the problem. Their response was evasive and unprofessional. Jennifer, my original coordinator, was no longer with the company. The new representative, Carlos, seemed unfamiliar with my case. "Dr. Ramirez is currently unavailable," Carlos said. "But I'm sure this is just normal post-surgical adjustment. Many patients experience some discomfort during the first year." When I explained that I was experiencing metal poisoning, not discomfort, Carlos became defensive. "Our implants are the highest quality available. If you're having problems, it must be related to your individual healing process." The runaround continued for weeks. Phone calls weren't returned, emails were ignored, and the 5-year warranty that had seemed so reassuring was suddenly impossible to access. The professional, responsive company that had coordinated my surgery had vanished. Meanwhile, my condition was deteriorating rapidly. The metal levels in my blood continued rising, and I developed new symptoms, including memory problems, joint pain throughout my body, and persistent infections. My American doctors were alarmed by the progression. "You need immediate revision surgery to remove this implant," my orthopedic surgeon advised. "The metal poisoning will only get worse if we don't address the source, but removing and replacing the toxic implant would cost even more than my original surgery in the US. The revision procedure was complex, expensive, and carried significant risks. The $72,000 I'd saved was about to become a $300,000 nightmare. I hired a medical device expert to analyze my Mexican implant. What he discovered was even worse than I'd feared. The device wasn't medical-grade titanium as promised. It was industrial steel mixed with lead, cadmium, and other toxic metals. This implant was never intended for human use, the expert explained. It's industrial hardware that's been disguised as medical equipment. The surface coating that made it look like titanium is wearing away, exposing the toxic metals underneath. Further investigation revealed that Dr. Ramirez's credentials were fabricated. He had never trained at Johns Hopkins, had never performed 3,000 hip replacements, and wasn't even licensed to practice medicine in Mexico. The hospital's accreditation certificates were forgeries. "This is an elaborate fraud operation," the investigator explained. "They create fake medical facilities, hire actors to pose as doctors, and use industrial hardware as medical implants. The entire medical tourism industry in some regions is built on deception." The Hospital International in Tijuana was actually a renovated hotel with medical equipment rented for photo shoots. The operating rooms were only functional during patient visits, then dismantled and moved to other locations for new victims. "They're literally running a traveling medical fraud show," the investigator said. "They set up fake hospitals, perform surgeries with counterfeit devices, then disappear before patients discover the problems." The revision surgery to remove my toxic implant was performed at Mayo Clinic and cost $180,000. The procedure was complex because the industrial steel had corroded into my bone tissue, requiring extensive reconstruction. I spent 2 weeks in the hospital and months in rehabilitation. "You're lucky to be alive," my surgeon said. "A few more months with that implant, and the metal poisoning could have caused permanent organ damage or death." The detoxification process took nearly a year and cost another $120,000 in specialized treatments. I had to undergo chelation therapy to remove heavy metals from my bloodstream and extensive rehabilitation to regain mobility after the revision surgery. The total cost of fixing my $8,000 Mexican hip replacement exceeded $350,000. Instead of saving money, I'd lost my entire retirement fund and gone into massive debt. Worse than the financial devastation was the physical toll. I may never walk normally again due to the bone damage caused by the toxic implant. I tried to pursue legal action against Global Health Solutions and Dr. Ramirez, but both had vanished. The company's phone numbers were disconnected, their website was taken down, and the Mexican clinic had been abandoned. There was no way to recover my money or hold anyone accountable. Medical tourism fraud is extremely difficult to prosecute, my attorney explained. The criminals operate across international borders and constantly change locations and identity. Most victims never recover anything. Through support groups for medical tourism victims, I learned that my story wasn't unique. Thousands of Americans have been harmed by fake medical procedures in Mexico, Turkey, India, and other countries that market cheap healthcare to desperate patients. The medical tourism industry is largely unregulated, explained Dr. Patricia Martinez, who studies international healthcare fraud. Criminals take advantage of Americans who can't afford us medical costs and create elaborate deceptions to steal their money and harm their health. The psychological trauma has been as devastating as the physical damage. I trusted medical professionals with my life and was betrayed in the most fundamental way possible. The people I thought were helping me were actually poisoning me for profit. I've spent the last year sharing my story with other potential medical tourism patients. Many people dismiss my warnings, convinced they've found legitimate providers. "This won't happen to me," they say. "I've done my research." But that's exactly what I thought. I'd done extensive research, verified credentials, toured facilities, and met with doctors. The deception was so complete that even medical professionals would have been fooled by the fake documentation and staged presentations. My message to anyone considering medical tourism is simple. If it seems too good to be true, It probably is. Saving money on medical care isn't worth risking your life or your future. The few $1,000s you save up front can cost you hundreds of thousands in corrective treatments. Real medical care requires real oversight, real regulation, and real accountability. When something goes wrong in the US, you have legal recourse and medical professionals who are licensed and monitored. When something goes wrong in a foreign medical tourism operation, you may have no recourse at all. My $8,000 hip replacement became a $350,000 nightmare that nearly killed me. I saved $72,000 and lost everything. Some bargains cost more than you could ever imagine, and some savings aren't worth your life. Medical tourism can be legitimate, but the industry is full of predators who exploit desperate patients. If you must seek medical care abroad, verify everything independently. Use only established hospitals with verifiable track records, and never trust medical tourism companies that make unrealistic promises. My toxic hip replacement taught me that your health is worth more than any amount of money you might save. Don't let my medical nightmare become yours.